When it comes to creating a manga, comic, or light novel, there are usually certain factors that help determine whether the series will be successful. Today we'll be taking a look at this formula to help you apply the techniques to your own creations. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out my own graphic novel, Having Faith, now available in bookstores, libraries, and on Webtoons. Sometimes imaginary friends don't want to be imaginary. Having Faith is a psychological thriller graphic novel created by me, Midnight Cross, which focuses on what it means to grow up, make friends, and fall in love, all while trying to overcome the fears we create in our own minds. So along the way in creating my own graphic novel, there's many things that I have learned. And one of the main things is learning what makes a series successful and the things that do not make a series successful. The topics I'll be mentioning in today's video are things that I've noticed in successful anime or manga. However, if you don't have these things in your series, it's perfectly okay and you don't need to have everything on this list. But including things on this list in the series you're creating may be more likely to help your story be a success. So let's take a look at these things together. The first thing that helps a manga or light novel be successful is an immersive world. The world itself is one of the key factors to determine whether an audience will really enjoy the story. Now, of course, there are some genres that do not require as extensive world building as other series do. However, you will notice that the most successful series tend to have worlds that the readers really want to be a part of. The worlds will have really unique characters, unique locations, and it will overall feel really immersive, as if the readers could live and exist in this world along with the characters. And creating a world that's immersive is very different from creating just a world in general. You want to really make sure that you add all the key elements that would make up life in that world, whether it be the character's daily life, the jobs that may exist in that world, any other systems or political structures in that world, any power systems in the world, and other elements that may make up the characters' lives in that world. Even in series which may focus more of an apocalyptic or dystopian world, you will notice that some of those series that are more successful will usually have a world which is really well thought out and developed. Now, the next thing that helps a manga or light novel be successful is that it's Osoable. Now, let me put that into more context. When I say Osoable, I mean that when a reader is experiencing that anime or manga or light novel, they feel like they could create their own OC, original character, based off that story. Now, there are some series in some genres that don't necessarily work for this, but there are plenty that do. In order to make your series more OCable, you need to have a sort of template that your readers could look at in order to develop original characters based off your world. And this also goes into the world building as well. If you're creating a really immersive world where you have really unique character types and classes, then your audience may be more likely to want to develop an OC that is based off the already existing characters within that world. So typically, to make your series OCable, you want to ensure that there is a sort of template that your readers could follow to create their own characters. And this might be character classes in your world, or it could be that there's a certain system which is broken down into multiple categories in your world, and this could even be based off the power system itself, as long as the power system is broken into categories. So just keep in mind the series you like creating OCs off, if you have done that before, and then think about how you would do that and make your series OCable, and that is one of the ways you can make your series a lot more successful. Another way to make your manga or light novel successful is to make the main conflict world-threatening. Now, it doesn't always have to threaten the world as such, but it needs to threaten your character's world. Whatever means the world to your character, it needs to put that at risk. And you will notice in some of the most successful manga or anime or light novels, the conflict will be something that either puts the entire world at danger, or it will either put something that means the world to that character in danger. And these much higher stakes will really help the readers to keep reading more to see what will happen next. Another common feature in popular manga, animes, or light novels is actually within the character design, and it's including a hook in the design. So you can create an incredible character design, but this is another element to creating a design that takes your characters to the next level, and that is adding a hook. So what's a hook? It's when you add an element in your character's design that is unexpected or makes your readers ask more questions to see what happens next. Whether your character is wearing something unique or carries around a mysterious object, having something on them that makes your readers curious will help to build interest and intrigue in your story. It doesn't have to be done for every character, but I would especially recommend adding this to the protagonist or maybe secondary main characters, adding a small hook in the design to make your readers curious to learn more about this character. Now this is more about the page formatting and layout, but some of the most successful and popular series will usually have a consistent structure and formatting. So if you're creating a light novel, it will follow light novel layouts and styles. And if you're creating a manga, it will follow manga layouts and styles. It will usually not go outside of what is expected for the formatting and layout of that genre. So whatever medium you're planning on creating your story in, whether it is a manga, a comic, or a light novel, do some research on what is expected for not only the format of book that you're creating, but also what is expected in that genre. For example, fantasy novels tend to be a lot longer than novels in other genres, for example. Following what is more expected in your genre can help you to make your book more successful because you're already following what is more expected for that particular type of book. This is why typically in publishing houses, they will only accept books that really follow those strict formatting rules because they have a formula of what is popular and what is expected. And a book that looks closer to what is expected for that genre and that medium will likely be more well received than something that might go outside of that. And I feel like this is something I really learned too, because when I released my book, my graphic novel, which was heavily inspired by manga, but my graphic novel has about 550 pages, and originally I'd intended it to only be 200 to make it closer to a manga format. And I feel like I would have preferred to create it closer to a manga style, but by the time it was released, I just decided to release it in a longer format instead. But because of the way I released it, it feels like it's more of a graphic novel more than a manga, even though I had originally wanted to create it more in a manga style and formatting. So that's an example of how it can sometimes be better to follow what is expected in the genre and medium. And even though I'm very happy with the style and format of the book, and I wouldn't change it now, it is something that I really considered when it came to the publishing and printing process. Another thing that's important to keep in mind if you want your story to be successful is to keep the lore consistent. Now, this might seem like an obvious tip, but if you are creating a story with lots of lore and details, keeping that lore consistent throughout the series is going to be really important. You want your audience to feel like they understand the world and they're understanding the facts, and that they're learning more about that world as it progresses. So this is just a really simple tip, but it is something important to keep in mind. As you continue to create your book, make notes of the important lore that you are creating in your world so you can refer to it as you are further developing your series. In this way, you don't have plot holes or incorrect facts later on in the series that might end up making your readers confused or ruining the immersion in your series. You also want to ensure that your characters feel believable. No matter what kind of character type you're creating, it's important to make them feel like they are realistic, like they're an actual person. Typically the most successful series that I've seen, even if they are in a completely different world to ours in a fantasy or a sci-fi setting, as long as the characters are making decisions that make them feel realistic, those characters will usually be really successful. Now, this doesn't mean that your characters need to be perfect, they need to do everything right all the time. It just means that they need to make decisions that you feel like any normal person would make. Even if this character, whether this character is the protagonist or the side characters or the antagonist, think about what decisions and how you would see the world from that character's eyes, and that can really help you to make them more believable as a character. And finally, creating good dialogue and distinct voices is really important. This is another element of creating good characters, but I really do believe that the characters can help to make a story really successful. Now, when we're talking about character voices, I'm not necessarily talking about how the characters sound, like in an anime. Instead, I'm talking about how you write the dialogue. You see, if you write the dialogue the same for every single character, then every character is going to sound the same. You want to ensure that when you write your character's dialogue, every character sounds different when written on the page. Some characters might stumble over their words sometimes, some characters might have a word that they repeat a lot, and some characters might have a really polite manner in speaking. So you just want to think about how you can make each character's voice sound different from each other, and that will really help each character to stand out and feel even more believable in your series. So these are some tips to help your manga or light novel be more successful, and these are common features that you may see in a lot of popular anime and manga today. While you don't need to follow all of these techniques, if you follow at least some of these, it may help to give your manga or light novel more of a chance of standing out from the crowd. These are some things I really wish I knew before I started my graphic novel Having Faith, and I know that if I created a series in the future, I would definitely use more of these techniques. So thank you so much for watching my video today, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know if you have any other tips or suggestions, because I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure others would love to hear your thoughts too. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!